Shalom, Yasha Allah. First and foremost, I would like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kachadash, and double honors to the beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Amar from the GMS Boise, Idaho camp, coming at you with a lesson, based off some disturbing information that I found out while I was at work. And this directly affects everybody in Babylon the Great because this same process is repeated in every single major city, every single small city, and dispersed throughout all the country. And the example that came to my mind when I first heard about this, and I'm going to just go straight to the scripture, and then I'm going to get some of the background. But the first scripture I want to go to is right here. It's lucky I'm getting a little sick. I'm kind of losing my voice. Okay, it is in there. Okay, so the first scripture that I'm going to get to is in 13, and then I'm going to start back up at 7. But this is Ezekiel 4 and 13. And the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their bread, Salakia, eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. And that's point blank period, exactly, the type of food that we have to eat, so-called, in the society, which is, really destroying you and killing you slowly and slowly. Even if you make tinctures, even if you have herbs, even if you eat 100% organic, let's say you don't even eat that much meat and you just eat vegetables, it's still defiled. And I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. But the story that came to my mind was when Ezekiel was given pretty much human shit cakes to eat, and he pleaded with the Lord, and he ended up making him eat, cow's dung instead. So what this Ezekiel chapter 4 is Ezekiel prophesying to the rest of Jerusalem, those that dwelled therein, before Babylon went and sieged them. And a siege is when another army is encircling a city and they don't let any resources in and they don't let any resources out. And there's been many a times that Jerusalem has had examples of extreme famine, resorting to cannibalism, eating their own children, eating they call it a cob of dove's dung, which is a very small amount that they were selling just for nutrients. They were eating their sandals, their leather belts, everything. So I'm going to get right into it, and then I'm going to share the story that I learned. This is Ezekiel 4 and 7. Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. And prophesy means to speak before it happens. So this is Ezekiel giving Jerusalem a warning about what was going to happen to them by the hand of the Babylonians. So this is verse 8. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from one side to another till thou hast ended the days of thy siege, which ultimately means when the Babylonians went and took over the remainder of the southern kingdom. This is verse 9. Take thou also unto thee wheat and barley, and beans and lentils and millet and fitches, which is, I guess you could say, peasant food. This is really food that is like not top priority to eat, but it's really readily available and pretty cheap, which is an representation of the type of cheap food that we eat here in Babylon the Great. We don't eat the same thing the top elite eat with their private cooks or whatever. And fitches, back to verse 9, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days shalt thou eat thereof, which is a representation of how long the siege was, which is roughly a little bit more than a year. And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day, from time to time shalt thou eat. And it says, thou shalt eat thy, and thou, Salaki, my brain's a little foggy right now, Yashra Allah. 10 again, it says, thou shalt eat, thou, which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, which means you're going to like measure, you're going to ration your food. You're not going to be able to eat to your fill, and the food that you do eat, it's 20 shekels a day. That's a lot of money, man, for cheap food. This is just an allegory of the same situation that the Israelites are in today, man. A lot of talk about, GMO foods, them talking about injecting meats with the jabs and the extraordinary prices that you're paying for this crap. Verse 11, thou shalt drink also water by measure, the sixth part of an hin, which is a measurement, from time to time shalt thou drink. Meaning you're not going to be able to have your fill to eat. And this is verse 12, and thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight. So the Lord is telling Ezekiel to prepare this dish, put human feces in it, shit, and eat it. And Ezekiel had to, I'm sure you even hearing that, you're taking a couple steps back, like what the, this is verse 13. And the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. And this is Ezekiel's reaction. This is verse 14. Then said I, Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai power, behold, my soul hath not been polluted. For from my youth up even till now have I not eaten of that which dieth of itself, which is in our law. We're not supposed to eat an animal that dies, but you can sell it to a heathen, to make some shekels off of it. You're not supposed to eat an animal that dies from a disease or it gets hit like roadkill. You're not supposed to eat it. Or is torn in pieces, which means it got attacked by an animal and you come upon it. You're not supposed to eat it. Neither came there abominable flesh into my mouth. So Ezekiel right now is pleading with the Lord to not eat that. This is verse 15. Then he said unto me, lo, look, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung. So the Lord switched it. Cows comes from a cow, obviously, it's a representation of still something nasty, but it's not as nasty as eating human shit. The cow's dung for man's dung, and thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith. Verse 16, moreover, he said unto me, son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, which is ultimately talking about a famine. And they shall eat bread by weight and with care, which means a very strict rationing. And they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, because the fact of the food that they're eating, man, have you ever seen the show Fear Factor? Every time they give them that section of the show when they have to eat something nasty, the different people's emotions and the things on their face, some people run away. Some people give up, they can't do it. And that's that astonishment of what they're eating. This is verse 17, that they may want bread and water and be astonished one with another. They're like be looking at each other like, are you serious, man? This is what we got to eat. And consume away for their iniquity. Ultimately, when you're rationing something, you're not getting your full nutrients. So your body is slowly degrading. So I'm just going to try to save my voice and get to this story. So I'm not going to say where, but I'm building, I work in construction, and we're building a certain facility for a water processing and sewage plant for the city. And when I was walking on my way back to the parking lot where the employees park, there's this big machine about the size of a Connex. And I'm going to get it right now. And this is actually the picture of what I saw. In this picture, this is about the size of a semi-trailer. As you can see, it's mobile. This thing right here is a processing for human shit. This black stuff that you see is processed human shit. And me, I did not know exactly what it was. So I went and asked the people operating the machines because I'm curious and I talk to anybody and I just have a curious mind. I say, hey man, what is that? Because I saw a guy that was on the inside of the tank with a big hose. So apparently after a certain amount of time when these sewage plants get full, they drain the water, they dehydrate whatever is in there, and they have a guy sucking it up with a hose, kind of like a fire hose looking thing. And he's in a full hazmat suit, and it's connected to this machine that you see right here. And from that point on, it's going through a mechanical separation or whatever, dehydration, and it's coming out. And it smells like wet dirt, like really like rich wet dirt, like fertilizer dirt. So I go up to the guy and say, hey man, what is that? And he said, oh, that's the leftover from the tanks. And I'm like, the leftover from the tanks? I say, so is that shit? And I was like, is that human shit? And they're like, yeah, that's human shit. They're like, it's going to be used as fertilizer. And I'm just like, and at that point, I'm just like, oh my gosh. I said, so what, where is this fertilizer going? Because now I'm really, trying to get some information because it just got my curiosity going. And they said, oh, this specifically is going to be going to a nursery. And then sometimes they go to farms. I said, so every time I go and buy a fruit tree at a nursery or a little shrub, or when I see the farmers get a big load of this black stuff, I always thought it was charcoal for some reason, because I live out here where there's a lot of fields, and you see these piles of big black stuff, or sometimes it's all white, and it's so-called fertilizer. So apparently they take and process this human shit that everybody shits off of, and they sell it back to the nurseries. So they sell it. You're already paying for sewage. It's getting reprocessed into the water you drink because it's clean, Then whatever solids, they'll dehydrate and process, and then they'll sell again to the nurseries, to farmers. So let me tell you what, Jake, if you didn't know, you are eating human shit right the fuck now, man. Whether you think you're all organic, 100% vegan, I don't eat none of that stuff. Guess what? You're eating human shit. And the plants that are covered in this stuff are processed and fed with things like this. And this is what Esau has to do because he doesn't keep land Sabbaths. He doesn't have crop rotations. He doesn't know how to burn a field and let the natural nutrients revitalize the land. He doesn't let the land rest and just run wild and have all types of plants grow there and stuff like that. No, he wants to take sewage, dehydrate it, and feed it back to you because you're goyim in his eyes. Gawayim, in the Hebrew. He looks at you like cattle. And this is a normal thing. I'm not going to say it damn near bugged me out, but it just made me be like, God damn, we got to fucking leave this place. This place is disgusting, man. From the shower that's coming, the water that's coming out of your shower head, to the all organic salad mix that you're getting, thinking that it's all healthy. Yeah, it's organic, all right. It's organic. But guess what? Man, organic human shit that you're fucking eating, man. That's why this man got to go. This man has to fucking go. And Salakia for my Swahili. But man, if this don't upset you and make you be like, damn, Esau is not fit for power whatsoever. It should have you think, man. And that's why, I just left it at that. I said, all right, guys, thanks for talking with you. Have a good one. They asked me, hey, what's your trade? I've been like, well, I've been on and off on this job site for 2 years. I do this and that. I'm not going to put too much information out there, but let me tell you what, Jake, if you think you're eating the healthiest stuff because it's organic vegetables, you're eating vegetables grown with human shit. Every time you go and buy a fruit tree from a nursery and plant it in your backyard, thinking that it's 100% pure because you grew it from the start, man. No, it's not. I'm just saying because they sell trees that are like 4 feet, like 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet tall, and you can get them at Home Depot or wherever. That wet, dark soil, is contaminated more than likely with this human shit, because this is another way that Esau tries to make an extra buck off something that shouldn't even be resold. And this is why Israel would have a pit or hell constantly burning, so that because Israel would bring its carcasses, their animal carcasses, their leather straps, their garbage, their trash, and they would burn it, or they would bury their excrement, man. Not fucking figure out a way how to add it back into the food supply. And that's why, man, I didn't want to keep it real quick, straight to the point. But that's just something I'm gonna share with the body in Israel, so that you guys can add that information to your cycle. Put it in your notes. Bring it up to brothers. Talk about it. Cause man, I had told my wife when I got home. I said, "You're never gonna believe what I found out today, man." It just makes you feel dirty, man. And this is why we need new bodies. This is why this man needs to get taken down. And this is why this man is going to be slapped with chains and broken like shivers, like a pot getting slammed down to the ground. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents, and just to bring the scriptures in, it's something that, caught my attention when, I remembered the story how the Lord was telling Ezekiel to eat that human shit. And he didn't even want to, but look, we still end up doing it, man. It's sad. And this is why this man, again, has to be taken out of power. So Lord willing that this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Till next time, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachachadash, and double honors to beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring. Keep pushing, keep persevering, because we are almost home. Till next time, Lord willing, Shalom.